Yes. Thank you, Stacy. Or Christine, I don't know who hit that. My name is Alexis Smith, and I am the International Partnerships and Programs Coordinator, and I just want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. So, happy International Education Week 2020, and welcome to our Global Fair 2020 Country Spotlight. According to the Department of State, International Education Week, or IEW, November 16th through the 20th is an opportunity to celebrate the benefits of international education and exchange worldwide. This joint initiative of the U.S. Department of State and the U.S. Department of Education is part of our efforts to promote programs that prepare Americans for a global environment and attract future leaders from abroad to study, learn, and exchange experiences. International Education Week is a week for celebration, a celebration of diverse cultures, languages, people, and the relationships and connections we have forged here and across oceans and continents. This is a time to celebrate our friendships and to celebrate in our collective and individual accomplishments. Today, we are ready for a celebration. After a very difficult year due to the complexities of COVID-19, which halted international mobility, as well as new and proposed immigration rules and presidential proclamations, which created additional uncertainty and anxiety, this week is our opportunity to stop and shine a spotlight on the wonders and wonderfulness of interacting with people from around the world. While international travel has halted, our international engagement has not been stopped. We continue to communicate and engage virtually with our friends and partners around the world. We were not discouraged. Rather, we were leveraging opportunities. OIP started Foundations of Global Health, a year-long series of presentations geared to prepare our community to be leaders and catalysts of change, who defeat health disparities by ensuring health equalities. In the face of proposed immigration rules and changes, we at KUMC have stood in solidarity with our international friends, colleagues, and coworkers. Here at KUMC, we know better than anyone how much our international friends contribute to our community and how desperately we would miss any of them if they chose to work, study, or do research elsewhere. Diversity is essential to creativity of thought and expanding our mental horizons and understandings. Simply put, we all need to interact with others who think differently and perceive the world differently, as it makes each of us better, smarter, and a little more empathetic and understanding. As Senator Fulbright stated, we must try to expand the boundaries of human wisdom, empathy, and perception. And there is no way of doing that except through education. The essence of intercultural education is the acquisition of empathy, the ability to see the world as others see it, and to allow for the possibility that others may see something that we have failed to see, or may see it more accurately. We know the value of individuals from around the world who come to the US to study and how their presence in America contribute even more profoundly than the $41 billion they contribute yearly to higher education, as reported by NAFSA, the National Association of International Educators. International students, researchers, and employees are part of the heart of our institutions and are woven into the beautiful tapestry of American higher education and American society. To say we are grateful for their presence seems grossly inadequate. We cannot imagine our lives here at KUMC without the presence of internationals and international exchange. Okay, so traditionally our global fair is held in the School of Nursing atrium, and we have booths set up for our wonderful countries to share all about their culture and anything else that they'd like to share. So this year, we're doing things a little differently. We're virtual, and we have invited some of our wonderful internationals to share a little bit about their country. This year we have individuals from Germany, Nigeria, and Mexico to share with us about their countries. So without further ado, let's get started.
All right, welcome. Thank you, Alexa, for that warm welcome. My name is Christine Hernandez. I'm the International Educational Experience Advisor. I am originally from Heidelberg, Germany, and moved to the US about 12 years ago. With me today is also Lisa Nooms. You will get to hear from her later on in the presentation. Next slide. Okay, so historically, Germany has been called das Land der Dichter und Denker, the country of poets and thinkers. I would like to invite you for just a brief minute and take your mics off mute. And I would like for you to tell me, when you think of Germany, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Oktoberfest.
Okay, very good. I see beer in the chat. What else? Anything else? Football or soccer? My brother in the army. Okay, very good. Soccer, yeah.
My ancestors and pretzels.
Okay, yes, pretzels. Very good. Well, we will definitely be briefly be talking about soccer, the Oktoberfest, and beer. So thank you for that, Alexa. Next slide. All right. Here you see Germany. It is in the heart of Europe. We're a country of about 83 million people, and we share 9 borders. So we share borders with 9 other European countries. Up in the north, we have Denmark. That's actually where I got married. We have Poland and the Czech Republic in the east. Switzerland is its only non-EU neighbor. We also have Australia in the south, France in the southwest. If you look at France, so my hometown, from my hometown to France was always about a 45-minute drive, which we quite enjoyed, especially over the weekend, to just, drive into to France and get to experience the beautiful culture there as well. We're also neighbors with Belgium, Luxembourg, a very small country, as well as the Netherlands in the west. Okay, since 1990, we have 16 official states. You see on the upper left-hand corner a partial map of Europe. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little red star. Thank you. That little red star here is on an island called Mallorca, or Palma de Mallorca. And we lovingly call Mallorca our 17th state. And I know that our very own Alexa has been there and can probably attest to that. We call that our 17th state just because so many people, so many Germans in particular, particularly vacation there each year. So if you were to go to Mallorca, which is just off the coast of Spain there, you would see German doctors, German restaurants. So yeah, we love that island. And that's why we unofficially call it our 17th state. Next slide. Okay, just to give you kind of a size proportion here, Germany is quite small and very densely populated. The US is about 28 times bigger than Germany, and we have 252.5 million more people that live in the US compared to Germany. Thank you. Okay, our capital is Berlin. It used to be Bremen, but now it's Berlin. Berlin is one of 3 city-states. We have Hamburg up in the north, Berlin and Bremen, and those 3 are our city-states. Our currency is the euro since January 2002. I very much remember that switch to the euro. People were very nervous, and a lot of them actually went to the bank to pull out all their money because they were afraid something wouldn't quite go well with the currency switch. And we have 19 countries that use the euro, which is called the Eurozone. So if you're traveling within Europe, it is quite nice because you get to use your money. Switzerland, for example, does not use the euro. That's one of the few ones. Okay, next slide. Oh, actually, would you mind going back? Sorry, Alexa. Okay. One thing that I did also want to mention is that our chancellor is Angelika Merkel, and our government provides health insurance, healthcare, and education. Thank you. Okay. And since we are at the KU Medical Center, I thought I would just very briefly touch on health insurance. I know that this is a wordy slide and I promise I won't read through all of it, but just so you know, health insurance is mandatory in Germany. We have a universal multi-payer health system paid for by a combination of statutory health insurance, which is your gesetzliche Krankenversicherung. That is just your national health insurance. If you make more than $68,000 a year, then you can opt into the private health insurance. But most people have just the regular health insurance. About 86% of us do. Just from a personal experience, that was one of the big cultural differences when I came to the US, because before coming to the US, I have never received a doctor bill, for example. I never really had to worry about getting sick. So that was an adjustment, especially if you have family. So thank you, Alexa. Next slide. All right, just a little bit about German culture, and then we'll talk about some cultural differences. German culture, let's see here. We have public transportation. Our public transportation system is excellent. If you are driving in Germany, which you probably will quite enjoy because we have the Autobahn. We will talk more about the Autobahn here in a minute as well. But just especially if you're driving within the city, be very mindful of bikers, because lots and lots of people use their bike as their public transportation. In addition to that, soccer is a huge part of our culture. We are a four times world champion. We used to have football, or American football, a few years ago, but that idea never really, it just never really took root. We had several players from the US that would come, and during the off season would come to Germany and play there. It just never really took off. And the same with baseball. So going to the Kaufman, to the K here was quite an experience for me when I went for the first time. And of course, as we have mentioned already, the Oktoberfest. That is particularly in Bavaria, deeply rooted in the Bavarian culture, but also in the rest of Germany. We've been celebrating the Oktoberfest since 1810, so for quite a while. The Oktoberfest actually isn't only in October, it starts in September, or more precise on September 21st, and that has something to do with the weather. We just want to make sure that we get the nicer days because it is all outside. And we also have those beer tents, right, which are inside then. The Oktoberfest has not been celebrated on two occasions. One of those occasions was World War II, as well as now this year, COVID-19. I have a quick question for you. Do any of you know why we celebrate the Oktoberfest? Any ideas, any thoughts? Why do we celebrate the Oktoberfest? Because we like to be merry, drink beer? No? Any ideas? No? Okay. Well, it actually the base or the root of the Oktoberfest actually dates back to a wedding that took place in 1810. We had the Kronprinz Ludwig, or Crown Prince Ludwig of Bavaria, who married his Princess Theresa. And he was so much in love with her that he wanted to have just a phenomenal big wedding, a big fest. And that took place at the Theresienwiese. Notice you see her name here. He loved her so much, he decided to name the entire meadow after her. So for his wedding, lots of people from the regions came and just had a splendid time. So they thought, well, let's do that again. So pretty much ever since then, we started to celebrate to what is today the Oktoberfest. For many years, this then thereafter used to be also be an agricultural fair. And then, of course, those beer tents started to develop. And some of those beer tents actually have been within the families since generations. So there's actually a lot of history behind it. If you ever get a chance to go, please go and enjoy. All right, here's a picture of the Theresienwiese or of the Oktoberfest. And I did mention bikes. So this is actually a picture of the Hauptbahnhof or the train station in my hometown. So here you see just a sea of bikes, just to give you kind of an idea as to what probably our favorite mode of transportation is, or most common mode, I would say. All right, just a little more culture. Music, I don't know if we have any classical music friends that are on. So the world's most renowned classical composers, such as Bach and Beethoven, who have marked the transition of music between classical and romantic to Western classical music. They were Germans. Other famous composers include Brahms, Schubert, as well as Handel. And then literature, this is actually on my bucket list here. I don't know if you can see that picture very well, but that is the Frankfurter Buchmesse, which is which is a huge book fair in Frankfurt, annual book fair. So the German publishers publish around 94,000 new books each year at the International Frankfurt Book Fair, which is the most important book event in the world that is held in Germany. Okay, let's talk about some of the cultural differences or maybe some perceptions that you might have. Not all Germans wear Dirndl and Lederhosen. I know that is something that some of the, before I came to the KU Medical Center, I taught German. So some of my students were stunned that I'm just wearing regular street clothes. So Dirndl and Lederhosen are predominantly worn in Bavaria, especially for special occasions such as weddings or on Sundays, going to church, and then of course the Oktoberfest. But in my hometown, I have never worn a dirndl. Actually, I wore my first dirndl in the US. So another difference are store hours. We are closed on Sundays and we close early on Saturdays, and our stores are not open 24 hours. So be mindful when you do go to Germany or to Europe in general. Our store hours are just a little bit different. And we have significantly more holidays. So especially if you go during the Christmas time, I remember I went one year and I wanted to do some shopping, and it truly seemed like every other day the stores were closed or closed early. Another thing is punctuality. Germans like to be on time. If you are late, it is considered actually very rude. So if it's very typical of us to be perhaps 5 or even 10 minutes early. And then the thing is public restrooms. Now you're probably thinking, well, that's odd. Why is that on here? That is because you actually have to pay 50 euro cent to use the public restroom. That is not just in Europe. You see that in France or some other, I'm sorry, that is not just in Germany. You will see that in France or some other European countries as well. Another thing we don't have that is also a cultural difference is that gap between the stalls that you can find here sometimes in the US. That's actually, many Germans actually noted that when coming to the US. Okay, another thing is it is legal in Germany to be drinking alcohol in the streets. We already mentioned public transportation. We have a great public transportation system. It's very common for school children at a very early age to be, and we're talking first grade, to be taking public transportation across town. And the thing is German directness. if you ask a German how they are, be prepared to get a perhaps maybe even a lengthy or just an answer. If we're not well, we tell you we're well. We don't really do small talk. So yeah, just be prepared for that. Here's one thing I truly miss. That's number 8. That would be the Autobahn. I had so much fun renting a car last November. So because we have 70% of German highways do not have a speed limit. That means that essentially you can go as fast as your car takes you. Our roads are built a little different. I actually had a student who did some research on that because he was just so fascinated. The depth of the Autobahn or the depth of the street is actually much deeper, so it is smoother to drive, which you have to have a smooth drive if you're going, you know, anything over 140 kilometers an hour. Number 9 would be portion sizes. So if you do go to a restaurant in Germany, your portion sizes are smaller. You will not be likely won't be taking home any food. Another thing that reminds me of restaurants is paying. It is very common in Germany when you sit down in a restaurant that you will have to call for the waiter's attention. They're not ignoring you. They want you to stay. They want you to sit, be merry, eat and drink. Another thing is if you order water, you'll pay for it. And you also pay for refills, and you have to pay for ketchup, for example. But funnily, you do not have to pay for mustard, because mustard is considered a spice, and you don't have to pay for spices in German restaurants. So in case you were wondering. Number 10, our last item here is the use of cash. It is very common to use cash, and we're talking even little coins. Yeah, so if you're standing in a supermarket and your total is, I don't know, 8.52, it is absolutely normal to stand there for a minute and make sure that you give the direct cash. So especially credit cards are not very well are not used all too much, and there are many people that actually don't have credit cards. I remember my friend came to visit me last year, and the first thing she had to do was to apply for a credit card, because she had to get the visa and could only pay for the visa with a credit card. But many people don't own credit cards. All right, I think that is it. And with that, I will introduce you to Lisa. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello. So after all those cultural differences, I will talk a little bit about who we Germans really are in average. So the German love to eat, and especially we love to eat Döner at least 5 times a year. A Döner is the most loved fast food in Germany, and here on the right side you can see a small picture of it. We also love to eat chocolate, 93 bars of chocolate per year. And a lot of Germans still smoke, like 986 cigarettes a year. So I don't, but yeah. The most favorite pin is 1, 2, 3, 4. And every third German irons his underwear, cuts his hair on his own, and eats sausage and potato salad on Christmas Eve. I only do the third point. Next page, please. You can also kind of summarize the love life of a German in numbers. So each German at least kisses 3 times a day. 2/3 of German marriages never get divorced. But the Germans have more cats than children. We love our cats. But 82% believe in love. We are also not so far away from crimes. 71% cross the street while traffic light is red. And 39% have at least once in their life used the bus or train without ticket. We are also great in inventions, or we are inventors. We have contributed a lot to the normal life of people. I mean, there are things most people know probably, that the book print was invented in Germany and the beer. But there are other things like the mouth organ or a light bulb, the telephone, and even the period of system of elements was invented in Germany. There are other things like automobile, aspirin, and so on. And next page, please. In the last century, we never stopped with inventing, but now more usual things we use in our normal day life, like the thermos flask, the toothpaste, even a tea bag, and then things like TV, computer, and ship cart. Next page, please. We also, I mean, one thing which contributes probably to our creativity is the German language. The German language has a lot of, has a bad reputation, you could say. But I want to show you a little bit of, the German language could be beautiful or interesting. So in general, we use Arabic alphabet plus some extra letters, the E, Ö, Ü, and a Z. 1/4 of the language has foreign sources like French, Latin, English, but only 3.5%. And a sentence can have more than 200 words, and we are still able to understand the meaning of the sentence. And a word can have more than 60 letters, and we are still able to understand the meaning of the word. 100 million people have German as a native language, and they can use 23 million words. Just as comparison, English language has only 1 million words. One reason for this extreme number is that we are allowed to build compound words. So we can be very creative in creating new words, so-called neologisms. One example is a Eierschalen-Sollbruchstellenverursacher, which means translated eggshell predetermined breaking point causer. And here you have a small picture of it, what it actually does. Another fact is that 99.9% of the nouns have to use an article in front of them, which is either male, female, or neutral. This was for me is still a little bit difficult because in English language, it doesn't have to be this way. And I always want to put a the in front of a noun, always. So here I want to show you that when a word gets to be considered male, female, or female, it doesn't make always sense. Like here's an example, a virus is not neutral in Germany, a pandemic is female, but a vaccine is male. Next slide, please. And there are also a few peculiarities you have to be careful about, even in German. There are words with a double meaning, like the word Mutter can mean mother, but it can also mean screw nut. The word umfahren can mean drive around someone, but it can also mean drive over someone. So you have to be very careful with this word. There are words which in other languages, the same word means complete different things, like the word gift. In German, the word gift means translated into English poison. The English word gift means in German Geschenk. So here have two pictures of those. And then there are other words which simply don't have a real translation. You cannot translate them. So they are used. Can you please go back? Sorry. They are used one-to-one in the English language, like Doppelgänger, you probably have heard, or kindergarten. But there are other words like Zeitgeist, which means the defining spirit of mood of a particular period of history, or Wanderlust, a strong desire to travel. And as we already heard, we Germans love to travel. And Schadenfreude, which is a pleasure derived from another person's misfortune. It's kind of telling that there's not a direct translation into English for this. With this said, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Christine and Lisa, for sharing Germany with us. It's so great to hear so much about things that I think we've heard of, like Oktoberfest, that we really don't know a whole ton about. I did not know it had an origin with a wedding. I don't think I would have guessed that in a million years. So thank you for sharing that with us. Our next country is Nigeria. And that is by Olamide and Kafaya.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I have to keep my mask on. I'll try to be as audible as possible. I hope you guys can still hear me okay. Great. So I'll be giving this presentation on behalf of myself and Kafayat, my colleague and countrywoman, who also helped in preparing the presentation. And next slide. So just to get started, Nigeria right here, as you can see, is a country in West Africa on the Gulf of Guinea, which is in the Atlantic Ocean. And it's about the size of Germany and France combined, which is actually not that big by African standards. So it's just the 9th largest country in Africa. But in terms of population, Nigeria has about 195 million people, which makes it the most populous country in Africa and the most unpopulous Black nation in the world. So our geography is pretty interesting. We have like mountains in the south, the north. We have all these rainforests in the south, which kind of progresses as you go forward into like savannas and plains. Then we have this really elaborate river system, particularly the rivers Niger and Benue. We drain into the Niger Delta, which is like the 3rd largest delta on Earth. So we have basically everything except snow. We don't have snow, thank God. Next slide. So just a brief review of Nigeria's history. The area that is now known as Nigeria has actually been settled by different people for a very long time. So archaeological digs have revealed sites like this Nok settlement, which dates back to over 1,000 years BC. And we've also had like a large number of empires and kingdoms in the region, such as the Fulani Empire in the north, the Oyo Empire in the southwest, and the Benin Kingdom in the south-south. And a lot of these empires lasted for centuries. And then going forward, trade was started with the Europeans. In my first experience of snow in the US, well, I thought it was very pretty, but it was also very cold, which, yeah. So it kind of gives and takes, but I'm getting used to it. So yeah, so the Portuguese traders arrived at the coast of Lagos by the 15th century, the late 15th century, and they resumed trade with the natives. And it was at first trade in things like ivory, spices, palm oil, but unfortunately, as the decades progressed, it eventually morphed into slave trade. And like the exact figures aren't known, but it's estimated that millions of slaves were taken from the region over the course of the centuries of slave trade. Next slide, please. And as you can imagine, there was a decimation of some of these kingdoms that I mentioned earlier, which I suppose made it much easier for the British to annex Lagos right here in 1851, which was the start of colonization of Nigeria. And they sort of progressed further inland, overthrowing the various regional governments and acquiring the land until 1914. By then, the British Empire had the region divided into the northern protectorates and the southern protectorates, and they eventually merged these two regions into Nigeria, what we now know as Nigeria, which is actually named for the river Niger, this river here. So Nigeria comes from the words Niger area, Nigeria. And then the British rule continued until 1960, when we were granted independence. And this is just a nice picture that I found on the internet at the celebration after independence, which I understand lasted for weeks afterwards. So that would have been nice to see. Next slide, please. Thank you. So what's Nigeria like today? In 2020, we're a democratic republic governed by a president who is elected every 4 years. And we still speak English as our official language. But as I've sort of touched upon earlier, Nigeria was a collection of dozens, if not hundreds of kingdoms and cities of various sizes, which were merged into one by the British during colonization. So all these kingdoms held on to their various languages and cultures. So even though English is the official language, most people, I would say practically everyone speaks one or two other languages. So there are over 520 languages spoken in various regions of the country by over 250 different ethnic groups. So our currency is the Naira, and we actually have the largest GDP in Africa, which is mostly due to the export of oil and other petroleum products. So Nigeria is actually the 9th largest exporter of oil. And we also export various agricultural produce as well, like rubber and cocoa. Next slide, please. So if you were to ask any Nigerian to tell you what Nigerian culture is, they would be very hard pressed to answer that question because, again, we are a very ethnically and culturally heterogeneous people. So every tribe, every region has their own specific sets of cultures, their own specific sets of the food, the practices, their ceremonies, the dress, everything is pretty unique to the different regions. But so this is just like a very small selection of different foods from different cultures in Nigeria. And this is a picture I like as well. So the 3 major ethnic groups in Nigeria, the Hausas, the Igbo, and the Yorubas. And these are women from these groups dressed in like their different traditional outfits, which I thought was a really nice picture. And so, well, like I said, we are very heterogeneous in our practices. There are a few things that I think most Nigerians would agree with and that we have in common. So one of the things is we love our religion. So it splits pretty evenly between Christians and Muslims, about 50-50, but no matter which particular religion they ascribe to, they tend to take it pretty seriously. And then we are also a pretty, I would say, culturally conservative people. So there's a lot of importance attached to deference to traditions and customs and the way things are done and stuff like that. And one of my favorite things about Nigerians is that we love our ceremonies, we love our parties. So I hope everyone gets to be invited to a Nigerian party at some point because they are amazing. So next slide. So since we can't really, it would take hours if we were to start like going into various aspects of Nigerian culture. So Kafat and I just decided to talk about a few of the things that we particularly like. So one of them is Nigeria's music and film industry. So Nigeria actually has a bustling film industry. It's called Nollywood. I'm sure it's pretty easy to guess where that name came from. And it's actually the second largest in the world. Yes, there are a lot of food at Nigerian parties. Thank you, Kafaya, for pointing that out. So it's the second largest in the world, and there are thousands of movies released from this industry every year. And there are actually quite a number of them that you can catch on Netflix or Amazon. So I would encourage you guys to search them out because they are quite fun. And then another aspect of Nigerian culture is the music. So music is a very important part of daily life in Nigeria, and it's a very important part of like our ceremonies and traditions and celebrations. So it kind of varies from like the more traditional music, and this is just a screenshot of some gentlemen playing some of the local instruments. So this is called the talking drum, which I can't even describe what it sounds like. But yeah, and then we also have some of the more, I guess you could say it's more modern sounding music as well, so this man right here is is considered a legend by many people in the Nigerian music industry, both because of his work in music and as a political activist, and he kind of created a transition from this traditional music to the more modern sounding music. So today now you can find Nigerian artists on Spotify and iTunes and all that. So if you're interested, I could say you should also search them out, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. If, like I said, we love to party, so our music is made to dance to. So if you like to dance and stuff, search out Nigerian music. It's awesome. Next slide, please. So another thing Nigerians really love is sports, particularly football. And yes, it's football, not soccer, because you play it with your feet. So I refuse to call it soccer. And this picture right here is, most Nigerians would probably call it one of the happiest days of their lives, because it's from 1996, where the Nigerian male football team won gold at the Olympics in Atlanta. So I was what? I don't even know. I don't remember, but people still talk about it till this day. It's a very big deal. And then we also love our track and field, and boxing is another sport that Nigerians really enjoy watching, and they do pretty well in. This right here is Anthony Joshua, who has won the World Heavyweight Championship quite a number of times. So Nigerian sport is also something else where you might see Nigerian names come up a lot. Just yesterday, coincidentally, I was reading something about how, I don't know, 8 Nigerians got drafted into the NBA. So yeah, Nigerians are pretty big in sports as well. Next slide, please. So if you are intrigued by anything I've said so far and one day you would like to pay us a visit, there are a whole bunch of options and places you could go. So if you are into the nature and the wildlife and all that, you could go to the Yankari Game Reserve in the northern part of the country. If you'd like a more archaeological kind of trip, this is the Oshun Osogbo Sacred Grove, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You could go to the National Theatre for some plays and music and dance. It's really, really fun. If you'd like a more historical approach, there's the Badagry Heritage Museum, which is at the site of one of the, basically the major ports for the export of slaves back during the slave trade. And then if you'd like a mountain hiking active kind of vacation, we have the Obudinoto Resort here. We also have beaches right here. And then you can go to like this really nice arts and craft village to pick up some souvenirs from your trip. So please consider visiting us. So, well, when people can visit, not right now, but at some point, that would be nice. Next slide, please. So that's it. Thank you all for listening, and especially to Stacy, Alexa, Irina, Kimberly, and everybody at OIP for giving us the opportunity to give this brief talk. So thanks a lot.
That's awesome.
Okay, we are running just a little short on time, but that's okay. Our Mexico presenters unfortunately could not be with us. However, they did record their presentation, so we will get to hear from them. But before I started their presentation, I wanted to just give everyone a chance to ask our Germany and Nigeria presenters any questions while we still have them here. So you are welcome to unmute your microphone and ask a question, or if you prefer to type it in the chat, we are monitoring that.
I have a question regarding Nigeria, and you said it's like 50% Christian and 50% Muslim. And I was wondering, what are the relationships between individuals of different religions? Is it very friendly? Do they celebrate maybe even some of their holidays together? What's that look like in Nigeria?
So basically, even with the division 50-50 Christian Muslims, it's kind of mixed. You have a lot of Christian friends, you have a lot of Muslim friends. So there's no segregation. Even in the family setting, you have people that do Christianity, you have people that do Muslim. So it's like, okay, everybody does everybody does what they want to do. We don't segregate. You make friends with Muslim, you make friends with Christians, and
that's great.
In a family setting,
what about your parents? Would they like be okay if they're Muslim, if you married a Christian, or vice versa? Are they pretty flexible or open to that?
Yeah, so that is a topic of debate, I would say.
Depends on the family.
Depends on the family, depends on the mindset, depends on everything. So some family would specifically not allow you to marry a Christian if you're a Muslim.
Okay.
Of course, you can make friends and do all that stuff, but when it comes to getting married, but some family are kind of like lenient with it, so it kind of depends. I don't know what Alamide has to say, but I know it depends on the family.
I pretty much agree with her. It depends on the family. Some families are very strict about like who they're allowed to marry into what. Some won't even let you marry someone from another part of the country, much less from
Yeah.
another religion. So it can get complicated depending on the family you're from. And just to add to our point about like how there's a lot of mingling between the religions. So I was raised Christian, but the Muslim holidays are some of my favorites because
Yeah.
there's so much food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
The Eid. Like,
yeah, Eid, exactly. It's
Yeah.
so awesome. I basically just go from like one Muslim friend's house to the other, and then I have enough food for a whole week. So
nice.
it's nice.
Yeah.
I think mostly there were a lot of comments in the chat. I hope you got to see those. We're all waiting to be invited to a Nigerian party after COVID. So as soon as COVID's over and it's safe, keep us in mind. We'll look for that invitation from you guys.
Okay.
Maybe we can host like some sort of Nigerian little celebration.
Yeah.
OIP can help support that. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
All
We could
right.
make you some jollof, which is like Nigeria's famous dish. Everybody needs to try jollof.
I'd like the picture of all the food. You could do like all of that. I wanted to go back and comment real quickly before we move on. I know we need to listen to Mexico, but just moving back to Germany. I don't know if Lisa still on, and
Yeah, I am.
Chrissy. So Lisa, that was really entertaining for me. I love the way you looked at the different numbers and stuff. And so kind of my question is that kind of German humor too? Like, did you intend that to be funny to me? Or is it like, it seemed kind of like just really funny in a different type of funny way.
It is kind of German humor. We have a kind of very dry humor.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, it worked on me. So I don't know if you saw me laughing, but I thought it was hysterical. So thank you for that. It was very fun. Very fun way. And what a great presentation just overall of Germany. Thank you to you both.
Thank you.
All right. Then let's move on to Mexico, shall we?
Good afternoon. My name is Lara Espinosa, and I'm here with Valeria Macias, and we're talking about our home country, Mexico. The human presence in Mexico dates back 30,000 years ago, and after 1,000 of years of cultural development, Mesoamerican, Arido-American, and Oasis American. In the center of the white stripe is the national shield of Mexico, with a diameter of 3/4 of the stripe, and consists of a Mexican eagle eating a snake that it holds with its beak and the claw of its right paw. The eagle is perched on a cactus located on an islet of Lake Texcoco, represented by a Nahuatl glebe. The shield is based on a Mexican legend that tells how people wandered for hundreds of years in Mexican territory, looking for the site indicated by their gods to find the city of Tenochtitlan, present-day Mexico City, where they saw an eagle eating a snake. Although the meaning of the colors has changed over time, they were adopted by Mexico during the War of Independence with Spain. The current flag was officially adopted in 1968, but the general design has been used since 1821, when the first national flag was created. Mexico has an area of 1,964,375 square kilometers, making it the 14th largest country in the world and the largest in Latin America. Some of Mexico's native culinary ingredients include chocolate, avocado, tomato, corn, vanilla, guava, chayote, epazote, sweet potato, jicama, cactus, zucchini, tejocote, huitlacoche, zapote, and many varieties of bean and peppers, such as habanero jalapeno. Most of these names come from indigenous languages like Nahuatl.
Thought Olmecs, Mayas, Toltecs, and Aztecs originally inhabited the region of the Spanish ruled Mexico during the 1521 to the 1810. This led to the adoption of the Spanish culture and language. Mexico has Mexico
According to the World Tourism Organization, Mexico is the main tourist destination.
Mexico is a country with tradition, gastronomy, and history worth to celebrate, which have already become an icon of popular culture around the world. Reference to Mexican culture can be found in various contexts, and that is also something worth of celebrating.
Our hometown, Pachuca, remained a major mining center until the mid-20th century, with the city's fortunes going up and down with the health of the mining sector. In the mid-20th century, a major downturn in mining pushed Pachuca to change the basis of its economy to industry, resulting in the revamping of the Universidad Autónoma de Hidalgo.
Today, mining forms only a fraction of the municipal economy. One cultural aspect that makes Pachuca stand out is the influence of the Cornish miners who immigrated here in the 19th century. Many of their descendants remained in Pachuca and nearby Real del Monte, as well as two heritage that defines the city: football and the dish called pasties.
The central building from our university from 18th century was built by the Hospitaller Order of San Juan de Dios that functioned as a hospital from 1728 to 1837 and was reopened in 1852 under the care of the Pachuca City Council, now as a civil hospital. Between 1862 and 1867 was used as military barracks, both for Mexican, French, Austrian, and Belgian forces. Since the building has undergone different renovations and extensions, to date it houses administrative facilities, observatory, the ex-rector's room, gallery area, the La Garza Theater, the Mineralogy Museum, the Pilar Licona Olvera Room and Gallery, and the Baltasar Muñoz Lumbier Assembly Hall. The central building from our university from 18th century.
This is the main entrance to our university. Among the symbols that represent our university are the coat of arms, the motto on the heron, as well as the central building. The color is also a fundamental part of the identity of our university, since the color of coats are automatically associated with the image. The main colors are blue, beige, and red. This is the main entrance.
As another part of our culture, is the huapango. It's a very falsified rhythm, that is to say that every 3/4 measure the falsetto is marked, indicates that the root of flamenco, with that particular cante hondo, since its inheritance in the marking of the rhythm is abundant. Also, in the case of the melody, formed by a scale in C major, it makes the marked chord harmonic with the sound produced by the jarana, and that it joins the rhythm marked by the fifth huapanguera.
One of our biggest celebrations is the Day of the Dead. During this festival, offerings are made to the souls of ancestors. Shrines are built in homes to honor departed relatives, and there are often all-night vigils and graves. Market stalls sell pan de muertos and colorfully iced sugar skulls. At Lago de Pascua, there is a beautiful torch lighting ceremony, festive dances, and ceremony on Janitzio, an island in the middle of the lake. This picture shows the way they celebrated on Chapultepec's wood. One of our biggest celebrations.
In this slide, we can see the different ways to present an altar in different locations. We are never forgetting our dead people, and we are always looking for a way of commemorating them whenever we are. In this slide, September 16th is a very important date for all Mexicans, since it's the date that commemorates the independence of Mexico from Spain in 1810. Mexico's Independence Day is a celebration that begins shortly before midnight on September 15th to receive the first official hours of the holiday. September 16th.
The colors of the flag of Mexico, green, white, and red, can be seen anywhere the celebration is taking place, in addition to delicious dishes and traditional drinks with friends and family shouting Viva Mexico or Viva la Independencia as a sign of celebration. In the Zócalo, the central square of Mexico, a great celebration of Independence Day is celebrated on the afternoon and the evening of September 15. Fireworks and musical presentations take place through the night, and around 11 p.m., nearly 12, the President of the Republic and his family came out onto the presidential balcony for the grito. The colors.
In 2010, Mexican gastronomy was recognized as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. The origin of current Mexican cuisine is established during the Spanish colonization, being a mixture of the meals of Spain and the native Indians. Of indigenous origin are corn, chili, beans, squash, avocado, sweet potato, tomatoes, guasontle, cocoa, turkey, and many other fruits and condiments. According to Larousse de la Cocina Mexicana in 2014, Mexican cuisine lives because over time it has been faithful to the products that gave it life, mainly corn, beans, squash, and chili. Ingredients immersed in the cornfield from the base for factors are soft, which are assembly, fusion techniques, and history.
Mexican gastronomy not only delights us with exquisite flavors, but it's also a key element for the economy of our nation. According to the data from the Ministry of Tourism, food consumption represents 30% of what tourists spend when visiting Mexico, generating 1.7 million jobs directly and generating an economic income of 183 billion pesos, which is equivalent to the 2% of the gross domestic product.
Given the Mexican gastronomy is one of the great attractions of the nation, the Ministry of Tourism designed 18 gastronomic routes that include more than 1,500 dishes and typical drinks in 155 destinations and involve more than 500 chefs, 15,000 employees in the hotel industry, and 2,000 waiters. The idea is that those who visit Mexico have the opportunity to take a complete culinary experience that allows them to know the flavors that distinguish the country. That will be all from us today. Thanks so much for your attention and have a nice day.
All right, everyone. That concludes our presentations. Are there any other questions before we sign off? Thank you again to our presenters. We are so appreciative for you sharing your countries and your cultures and your heritage with us. I think we all learned something new today. So thank you. This was a great conclusion to our International Education Week celebration. So I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And just a reminder, on Monday and Tuesday, there are Native American Heritage Month celebrations. On Monday, there's a presentation about community conversation, I should say, about COVID-19's impact on the Native American population. And on Tuesday, there will be a presentation by Representative Sharice Davids. So I will put that information in the chat really quickly for you. I could get my computer to cooperate. And there's also Diwali today at 4 o'clock. And the calendar link will give you information for all of those events that we just mentioned. So thank you all and have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.